which is our first movie chat here on Graphgram's Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. My name is Te Haunui. Thank you, fellas, for coming through. If you're watching live, thank you. If you're watching the replay, thank you as well. We hope you get some sort of value out of this chat. This is just like a fireside chat, just a conversation, everything that we found and that we loved and maybe didn't love about the Batman, the latest movie that's come out. This is my partner, Sunny. And we've got two special guests here today, Dean and Tia. Dean, we'll start with you, brother. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm happy to come and discuss and looking forward to everybody's point of view on the movie. So just ready to get into it.
Cool, brother. Thank you for being here. And yourself, Tia?
Good.
Yeah, I'm Tia. I've talked to her a couple of times about some movies, and it's always good to just sit and chat and let the movie talk breathe. So we're back again for a little bit of that.
Yeah. Choice. So I think we'll start with your fellas' initial thoughts when you fellas first heard about this movie. I think it was like maybe 2 years ago now. Well, Dean, we'll start with you. What was your initial thoughts when you heard about it? And do you remember where you were, or what was that first bit of news that you heard?
To be honest, when I first heard about it, I was still rooting for Ben Affleck Batman to continue to happen, because we kind of just got a taste of him. I was a bit probably on the fence about when I heard Robert Pattinson got the gig, only because I only knew his stuff from Twilight. I didn't really watch any of his other recent films, but I heard he got quite a good new following from because he did a lot of independent films and crafted out. So I guess I was more curious, kind of like Catwoman, curious about what was going to happen when it comes to Robert Pattinson. But yes, that was my first initial thought.
Yeah, bro, that's cool. That's I think that was a lot of people's initial thoughts, especially when it came to Robert Pattinson, because that was it. Like, people were really only known for Twilight, but yeah, man, he's amazing. He's done some crazy stuff, and it's cool that he got to prove everyone who was keen right and everybody who doubted wrong, I suppose. What about you, Tia? What was your initial thoughts when you first heard about this version of the Batman?
Yeah, I was the same. I wasn't sure that he was gonna. I wasn't sure what it was gonna be like, but I'm always up for a Batman movie. So you can do that all the time. I'll always be keen for those. But yeah, I wasn't sure because he's so. I had only been exposed to him in Twilight, and another one. I think it had something to do with an elephant, like in the title. White Elephant, I think it was, or something like
that. The one with Reese Witherspoon?
Yes, that's it.
Water for Elephants.
That's it. Water for Elephants. That was a good film too, but other than that, that's all I've seen of him. And then I don't know, I thought he might be a bit too soft and too much like the lover boy and too much like playing those parts, Yeah, but it was good. It was good to see him take up the challenge for the Batman.
Yeah, I thought he was amazing. Have you seen Good Time?
No.
Oh, far. So that's a wild movie, man. It's crazy, but I think if there's anyone who has preconceptions about Robert Pattinson, and those preconceptions are because of Twilight, watch that movie and it'll shatter all of them. You can't get further from Twilight than Good Time. But I thought it was cool. What about like with this movie, Matt Reeves was the director and writer as well. Had you fellas seen any of his films? We'll start with you, Dean.
Do you want to give me a refresher? I might have seen
sorry.
He did the Apes movies, my friend.
He did the second Apes movie and the third one.
I didn't know
he did Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes.
Actually, to be honest, I haven't seen those ones either. So It was probably
You're
my
gonna
first
see
Matt
it,
Reeves movie, and I'm impressed anyway with what he did with
yeah.
the Batman. So I'm keen to go deep. I've heard about the latest Planet of the Apes movies and heard how good it was, but haven't
Yeah.
actually deep dive. Has he done any other? What other movies has he done?
He's done Cloverfield, like the
Oh,
Cloverfield movies.
yeah.
I haven't seen
The,
any of
the
those on there.
the documentary version, kind of the first one.
I'm not too
Oh
sure
yeah.
which ones, but I know he's definitely done 2, maybe all of them. I'm not too sure.
Oh yeah. Oh, those are pretty good.
Yeah.
You can really kind of see the start if he did the Cloverfield, the more isolated one when the girls gets trapped with their father in their house.
Yeah.
You can kind of see that style with his
Yeah.
filmmaking in the Batman.
Yeah.
So
I think he's
I
got
do
some
hope
good.
he carries on. You know, if
Yeah.
he does want to make another Batman movie, I'm keen to see his more vision of Gotham City and where he's going to take.
Yeah, man. I think it's exciting. So a lot of beating around the bush by me. Apologize, but let's jump into the movie. Did you guys go watch it together, or did you guys go watch it separately?
We
Together.
watched it together.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
And what was the initial conversations when you fellas were walking out of the theater?
When we were I'll just go back to the start. When we started, we wondered if we were in the right cinema. We had to turn around, and I said, "What movie are you guys watching right now?" They said, "The Batman." Like,
Why did you think that?
Only because when it first started, it said Universal Pictures come up
Oh
instead of Warner Brothers.
yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, so I was like,
And then we were like,
Is this the right one?
looked at the tickets, like, what's this person? What are we doing?
Wow, that's funny.
So that
But in saying that, though, when the first initial scene, when it first comes on, he really set the atmosphere of Gotham City and just how much fear everybody had for Batman, or everybody at large, the whole society.
Mm,
So especially when they first put the bat signal up, and you saw
yeah.
the 3 different groups of criminals looking in the shadow,
Yeah.
scared that Batman might come out. So that really, just brought, because that's Batman's persona, really, is putting fear
Yeah.
into people who make crimes. So he really did that well from the get go. So
Yeah.
and just making Gotham look really gritty. Haven't seen it so gritty
Yeah.
before.
And it was like dirty, man. It was like that shot of the train as it was coming towards the camera, and there was just like rubbish everywhere. It made the Joker movie look like clean.
like pretty, like
Exactly.
tidy.
Yeah. Super grimy. What about you, Tia? What was your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, when it first started, I was like, "This is it. This is Gotham." I think I was leaning over to Dean, going against what I like.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Being
say that.
quiet, everyone. I was like, "This is like the Gotham in the cartoons. This is Saturday morning cartoon Gotham."
Oh yes, man.
Yes, it
Well,
was. Oh. Yeah, that first time, all the setup scenes really did well to give us the movie, like set the tone, set the whole thing for what we were really going to get for the rest of the movie. It was like that the whole way, just yuck, dark, criminals everywhere, Derry's on the corner, just gloomy. Most of the color scale was, dark, brown,
practically
nighttime.
raining the whole time.
Yeah. So all of that, yeah, I love the setup.
Yeah. There were those early shots after. Actually, before we carry on, spoilers all the way through this whole conversation.
yeah.
Anybody, if for some reason you're watching this and you haven't seen the movie and you don't want it to be spoiled, don't carry on watching this. Go watch it first and then come back and watch it. But after that opening scene with Riddler, so there's all that Riddler scene and then he kills the mayor. And then those next scenes when Robert Pattinson starts talking, I loved his Batman voice too, by the way. And then those first shots, and there were like close-ups of the rain hitting the bat signal light, and it was like steaming off that hot ass light, and like really set the tone. And then that first shot of Gotham, and it was like Times Square in New York. I was like, oh, this is like a different version, and then with all those people like walking around, and like Halloween as well. Like I understand that that's taken from a comic run. I can't say what it is off the top of my head, but it was just a cool setup. And then how they said like what day and what date it was. It was Halloween night, and how the whole film is only over 7 days, and then all that crazy stuff happens. I just thought it was a cool, like what you were saying, like the way they set up the mood and the tone from the first 10 minutes, 5 minutes. And you're like, oh, yep, I'm keen for 3 hours of this.
Yep. All of that. It was really serious straight away. And I like what you said about the reference to the comics. It does look like that. It looks like it's been taken out of the comic and just put into film. Like placed over the top, and then the film is doing the comic.
Heaps of black.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that.
I agree with that.
I didn't dislike much from it. So you'll be just hearing me saying, yep, I love that, love that, love that. That was great. Yeah.
I think it's so different from other versions. And it was funny because after we watched it, I was telling Sunny that I love that they lent hard out into the world's greatest detective aspect of Batman. And Sunny,
I didn't even know he was a detective. Like because I don't know the comics or anything, just the films. And like I didn't even know he was supposed to be a detective.
And I was telling her, I was like, have you never heard of him be referred to as the world's greatest detective? She's like, nah.
Not once have I heard that.
Because he was in Detective Comics. That was his first appearance.
Oh.
It was Detective Comics. So I like that they did that approach. Like what a heavy burden to carry, doing another iteration of the Batman, especially like so close to, and the Dark Knight series was beloved. And then you've got, like you were talking about Dean, talking about Ben Affleck, you got him being able to reprise his role a little bit again in Zack Snyder's Justice League, but still not being given like, what would you call it? Like the amount of probably screen time, or like even just his own movie, because there was a lot that went into that. I'm the same as you. I was gutted that we didn't get to see him have his own movie, because he's my favorite looking Batman in the cinema versions of him.
This was a totally new film. It was just new. It was different. It was way not like what we're used to. I think the Christopher Nolan ones, and then the Joker, and I think they're just like normal films, and they do these. No, I don't want to say normal films. Scratch that. They're great films, and then they do these things and give us a little, like the Joker gave us a little bit of insight to messy minds, and we got to focus on him. But with the Batman, we got to see like that he's not so flashy. They took their time with developing to show us the development of him.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's the right words, but
agreed.
it was like a slower pace, and we were like, yes, he's brainy. See, this is his brainy stuff.
Yeah, it was almost like it was also like a detective noir kind of film, you
Yep.
know, as opposed to more of the superhero aspects
Yeah,
of Batman, you know. So
That's what
yeah,
I
it
was
was
trying to say.
really cool that interweaving to show that he was a true detective, because
yes.
that's how he was in the comics. So it really does say that they did a disservice to him in the previous movies, the other
In
adaptations
that
of
regard, in
Batman.
regards to the detective sort of approach.
Yeah, because we just get. But I love the Christopher Nolan ones because those are just great. And I did buy into it and love a superhero film, hard out.
Yeah.
But yeah, stripping it back and seeing him act like that, do those sorts of things, the Batman that isn't about the superheroes but like a developing character. Yeah,
Because you know what it felt like? It felt like watching 90s crime thriller with the
Yes.
Batman in it.
Yeah.
You know? It was like watching Seven or The Bone Collector, you know, all of those 90s films like that. Like the tone in this was a bit slower, but I liked it because it was a slower burn. And then you know, it was kind of like the Joker, how in the way that if you went into that movie and you had no idea that this was the Joker, about the Joker, and you watched the whole thing, you'd be like, whoa, that was just like a thriller about mental illness that just happens to be derived from a comic. You know, I thought there was like, I think that's what's like, you know, with movies, a lot of movies these days, they talk about it being grounded, or, you know, making films that are grounded, whatever that means to anyone, you know, could mean anything to a lot of people. But I do like that in this version, it felt like, as weird as it is to say, felt a bit more realistic.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, yeah, you know, like there wasn't times where he would just appear somewhere that he couldn't possibly appear without having magical powers, you know, or he had eye makeup, you know, things like that. He had to run to places and like jump on his motorbike to get to places.
And what made it kind of more realistic too is that you see him make some mistakes in the film, you know. Some of his gadgets didn't work properly, you know. Obviously, you can tell he was still testing some stuff out. So, you know, he wasn't this what is the girl version of it when they can't do no wrong? It's
Ooh,
I don't know, the word will come to me later on, but yeah. Like I understand that this is his first couple of years, but it's they made him more realistic, that, you know, his gadgets didn't work all the time, that he did fumble, you know, when he came down on a sky kite and, you know, whacked into the bus, and you could see how realistically he was sore. Even as the choreography, when it came to the fighting style, you kind of felt the punches he was taking and the ones he was giving as well. So
I felt
it was really good, real realistic.
Yeah, like there was that first fight that he had with those goons at the train station, and then he like when he beat up that first dude, and then there was the bunch of them, and they were like gang bashing him, and then he was like getting hit in the back of the head and stuff. I was like, yes, that's what would happen. Just because he's the Batman doesn't mean he wouldn't get touched by like 8 dudes. You know, and in this interview that I watched, there was another part where that they brought up, and it was how, like, as smart as he is, he still needs help, like from Alfred, to figure things out, like those ciphers and stuff like that. And you know, it wasn't just him having the answers to everything, or even getting the answers wrong, like the Al, what was it?
Rata or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Lata or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you are Alpha. Rata Alada, that was it. And how they got the solutions to those wrong 2 times.
Even
I
on the-
really got it wrong twice.
Like that
That was
first
cool,
riddle
getting
as
it
well,
wrong.
we had to try and piece the word, like he had to get Alfred's help as
Yep.
well,
Yep.
to decode all that as well. So
Yeah, I thought it was real clever. And another thing that I saw that was brought up was how it was serious and then it stayed serious. Like it didn't have like a random, like out of place humor just to have it in there, And like there was bits of humor in there, like the thumb drive. Like that's
very
humorous.
deadpan.
Yeah, not that humorous.
Like you can't hear thumb drive and then be like, oh, that's ingenious. You think of it and you're like, oh, that's silly, but it's kind of stayed serious with it.
I think I laughed out loud. I think I was the only one in the theater who laughed pretty loud.
I wrote some notes down here of some of the things to talk about. I know this is going to be hard, but if you had to, how would you rate your top 5 live action Batman films? I say top 5 because I haven't seen them all.
Is this just based on just the action or the film as a whole?
No. Oh, so live action, like in terms of like not including the animated Batman movies. So if you had to rate your top 5 Batman movies, not including the animated ones, how would you rate them? Like how would you categorize them? How would you say number 5 is which one? Number 4 is which? I'll go first just to break the ice and you fellas can think about it. I'd say number 5 for me would be, that's a random one and everyone's probably going to hate it, but it would be Batman and Robin. I know that's at the bottom of the list for a lot of people. And only Batman and Robin because that was the first Batman movie I watched as a kid. I remember watching it and loving it. We even had the poster of it. And as a kid, you don't think too deeply about movies. If it's entertaining, you love it. And it was entertaining. And I just watched it the other day and far out, it's ridiculous, man. It's silly, yes. It's hilarious. So that'll be my number 5. Number 4, I would say, this is hard. And look at this. I can't even put Batman Begins in here because I haven't even seen Batman Begins. I've only seen bits of it. And I know I just saw it. Yeah. I thought I was going to watch it after our last podcast, but I haven't watched it yet. So I can't even put that
You're
in.
forgiven.
So I'd have to put Batman Forever, number 4. And 3rd, I would go... Ooh. I'd go Dark Knight, which I know is at number 1 for a lot of people.
Mm-mm.
And then I would go The Batman. Dark Knight Rises is my favorite. Because of Bane. Bane's my favorite. Wow, that was hard, is?
That's hard. That's a hard question.
What about you, Dean?
So yeah, I'll probably go Batman and Robin because they'll be the first Batman I saw, so it's kind of nostalgic for me.
Yeah.
Next, I'll probably do Batman Begins. Third will probably be I'll put in The Batman Returns, Michael Keaton, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yep.
That's a classic. Then The Dark Knight. Then I'll probably put this Batman on top.
Woohoo! Let's go, our bats.
Yeah, I went with 5 Batman Forever. I think that's linked more to the feeling like nostalgia,
Yeah.
the feeling of watching it together with whānau.
Yeah.
One time I remember watching it, we were at a school meeting and it was the video for the kids to watch. So that's what we were watching. So I think it's more about that.
Yeah.
And then probably Dark Knight.
Ooh,
4,
yep.
3 Dark Knight Rises, 2 Batman Begins, and the Batman. This one.
Ooh, the Batman number 1 again.
Number 1. Yeah.
Ooh, that's interesting. I love it. Because I what was you gonna say?
Get kicked out of the chat because I don't know.
That's all right.
I do like Batman and Robin, though. We watched it the other day.
You're right, because I'm the one who's always harping on about bloody loving movies, and I haven't seen Batman Begins. I feel terrible.
That's my second one. So it never used to be, and then I really watched it, and then I loved it. So the Batman, this one, only just knocked that off from being my favorite Batman film. So,
yeah, I remember when you were saying that was your favorite out of the Nolan trilogy.
Yeah, it's the Batman reminds me of like the juiciness in Batman Begins. Like it's just like full of the talk.
Yeah.
Full of the stuff. Yeah.
It's got it going on.
Yeah. So it's slow pace, and there's lots of backgrounds to understand, and just yeah. So I loved it. Loved both of those films.
Yeah, I think what made it like fun if you're somebody who's into riddles and into playing like escape rooms and games like that where you have to use your mind. That's what made this movie cool too, because I love movies like that where the protagonist is spending the whole movie trying to chase the baddie down, and they're leaving all of these clues with their murders and things, and you're just like, man, who are they on about? Like the whole movie when they're talking about the rat and how all of these like dignitaries in their city were getting killed because they were all corrupt, and then how the tension was ramping up towards them catching the rat, and you're just like, who the hell is it? Like, who is it gonna be? Did you fellas figure it out before it revealed who it was?
No, I didn't. I think I got sidetracked by the connection with
yeah.
I was like, yeah, but no, I didn't figure it out. But
Did you figure it out, Dean?
No, I didn't. I was kind of did it was the Penguin that they were going for, but I was like, it can't be because he probably has a bigger role to play. But they, instead of saying Falcon, that's kind of how they tripped us up and saying Falcone.
Yes, I thought that was very clever.
But like you were saying, it was really cool trying to just playing along with Batman to trying to figure out, what these clues mean, where they're all leading to.
Yeah.
Did any of you figure out any of the riddles before?
No. Did you first figure out
hard riddles?
They're hard as. Clever though.
I like the first one.
What does a liar do when he's dead? Eh?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, he lies still.
Lies still. That was great.
Well done. Well done to those writers. And I love. That was I think that's a part that anybody who hasn't seen it anyway is I wasn't expecting it to be as scary as it was. Like the beginning, like when it first shows Riddler and the light from the TV is just flickering, on his glasses, reflecting off his glasses, and you're just like, Oh, look, that's people's worst nightmares. Like, especially Sunny.
Yeah, I
Like,
was
like every time you see like a dark corridor or somewhere, and you're just like, "Ugh." That's
And
why.
I
It's 'cause
was
of you.
getting kind of Saw vibes, eh?
Yeah,
From
yep.
the traps that the Riddler was making
Yeah,
for
especially that rat one.
the rat one. Yeah, I was like, "Fuck, he's pretty freaky."
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
said it because those were some movies that I really loved as a teenager with the Saw movies. And what I love about like those thriller movies, like thriller horror, especially the 90s ones, is how you'll go through the whole movie, gathering an image in your mind of how you think it's going to go down and who you think might have done, or maybe the person that they're after, or whatever. And then you get towards the end and you're just like, what? I was not expecting that. And then you watch it again and you're like, whoa, it's super obvious from the whole movie that it was this person. It's what was it? Like there was a movie that I watched. Or any of those movies like that where the baddie like deliberately gets caught, sort of like John Doe from Seven, like Joker in The Dark Knight, and it makes you think like, ooh, this is interesting. Like, how are they going to get out of this, or why did they get caught? Those sort of things. And I love how in this movie, the Riddler was saying like he was sending all those letters to the Batman because he knew that they could do it together. And it's funny because if you remove Batman, heaps of that stuff wouldn't have happened. And he was saying like, we did it together. Like, thank you. I said, bring the rat out into the light and you'll find where I am. And he brought him out into the light, killed him, found where he was. It's like, ooh, scary.
It was just good to see the Riddler kind of knew his limitations, didn't he? So he knew he didn't have the physicality to kind of bring his plans to light. So he had to kind of get Batman to foolishly follow him into his plans. It was really clever.
Hey. Hard out. And that how he was saying to him, actually, sorry, there was an interview I watched with Matt Reeves, and he was talking about the Riddler and the Batman being two sides of the same coin. And I was like, oh, so they're both out for vengeance. They both were orphans, both had shitty stuff happen to them growing up, and this is their outcome for they both took the paths that they took, and one is fighting for good, although as year two Batman, he's trying to make sense of his loss and taking it out on bad dudes because it's righteous, I suppose. It wasn't to help people, or that wasn't the main reason to help people, was just to beat up bad dudes. And then Riddler was to kill bad dudes, because you think about all those people that he killed, those are the people who are supposed to be the opposite. They're not supposed to have 1 ounce of bad in them. So there's parts that you think about, obviously it's extreme, but to some degree he isn't wrong about what he's saying, about this whole city and then all that stuff with Bruce Wayne. Like, what did you fellas think when you fellas saw that stuff with Thomas Wayne and the Arkhams and all of that?
I was like, no.
Don't ruin their clean image.
No, not the dad.
Not that jawline.
No, I was scared that they were gonna bring in something like that would make it really bad.
Yeah.
And that he was actually a crim and he needed to be like brought to justice, and I was like, no.
Start going like this.
Yeah. So I think I was looking at Dean hard out like
What are they doing?
No. Yeah.
I think also what kind of what made Batman realize that what he was doing kind of influenced society in the wrong way was when the cop, right at the end of the last segment, when they beat up one of Riddler's goonies, and they asked, "Oh, who are you?" And he turned back and said, "I'm Vengeance."
Yeah,
You
and
know?
then that bass drop, the score as well. It's like, ooh.
Mm. That was great writing anyway. Good callback from the start.
Great writing, and then that look in Batman's face. You know, when he looked at him, he's just like, "Shit! Like, what am I doing? Like, I actually am, doing this."
Influence. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are these criminals out there because I'm present, and because I'm leading with vengeance and fear. You know, he talks about it all through the movie, like fear as a tool. You know, and then you get to the end when he saves those people, and there's some imagery in there. Man, it's powerful. There's a lot of imagery in there. And it's like looking at a painting. Like one that stands out in that same scene is when he's in the water and he's helping those people, and he lights up that flare, and then there's that top down shot of him, and he's on the left side of the frame with the flare above his head, and the red light is all shining that way, and all the people are making shadows. And it was a bit like biblical, actually. You know, and then there's the right at the end when he saves that person, and then they didn't want him to let them go. It's like, ooh, look, and that was his realization that he had to lead with Tangaroa kia ora, brother, that he had to lead with hope instead of fear. You know, be a source of inspiration for the people of Gotham instead of
more like a religious imagery of him, when he was holding out his hand to help, and most of them were too scared until the young boy of the mayor put his hand out to help, and everybody else kind of helped. Yeah.
So was Batman, like, everyone was fearful of him, not just the criminals?
Yeah, so it was like there was no one that liked him. They either were scared of him or they just thought he was a freak. You know, like every time he turned up to a crime scene, they were looking at him like, "What the hell are you doing here?" You know,
Some thought he was like also committing a little bit of crime too, and then he's running around in a suit and a mask, and he's like also doing bad things. So yeah, they looked at him. Like
yeah. I thought that was cool because, like, that first scene with Batman going to that crime scene when the mayor gets killed, and it's a POV shot, and it's him walking through the hallway and all the cops looking at him, and you felt like, whoa, like this is, I'm in a place that I don't belong, and I'm just, I'm trying to help these people who are here, like I'm the same as you fellas. I just go about it differently and illegally, and then how he walked through that whole L-shaped hallway, and then he got to that last dude, and he was like, "Whoa, what the hell are you doing here?" And then, so it was because it was a bit dreamlike, that walk through, and he got to that last dude, and there was kind of like a snap to reality, like, bro, you're still a freak, that's what and he literally called him a freak. So that was interesting, that arc from the beginning of that movie all the way to the end, where he became like a savior, and they looked at him like, thank you, Batman. There's no one who said thank you ever through the whole movie. Like, we do need you. What did you fellas think of Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman?
I loved it. I think she brought like a realistic thing to it too. It seemed like if I look at Michelle Pfeiffer's one, a little bit of the times maybe a little bit overdone.
I think there was a style as well.
Yeah. So, but I really love Anne Hathaway's one too.
Yeah.
But I think Zoe Kravitz brought something a little bit more real to it as well, like more realistic. Like her headwear wasn't that same full material stitched thing all the way up as well. It was just, it looked like a half cut balaclava,
It's a balaclava, yeah.
Yeah. So
It was like a practical one, so she could get out fast and
yeah.
Oh.
And we got to see all of those. So yeah, that made it a little bit more realistic.
I thought she was slick as anyway. Very slick. Really cool they highlighted her because she's a cat burglar, eh?
Yep.
And when they really highlighted
Good,
that,
Mm.
yeah. No, I thought Zoe Kravitz did a great job. I was always happy when I saw her on the screen anyway, when she was interacting with Batman, and interesting how she got involved, with the, how entangled she was with all the war, the crime and everything going on there. And really showed how, like, a bit of a gymnast she was,
Yep.
Cool to uncover her backstory because they didn't really do that with what's her name, Anne Hathaway's
Nah, not at
portrayal
all,
of
eh?
Catwoman. So it was good to know, who her father was. That was a cool twist in the end too.
Yes.
But as felines go, they do their own thing, eh? So she was kind of helping Batman, but then when clues went to her way because she was just trying to find her mate, she would just deter.
Yeah.
It was really good to see. She was really good.
Yeah, she was really good. And I love how her and Batman were kind of how much they influenced each other. As their relationship grew, she was influencing him to pursue certain things, and like helping her try and get that cop with the broken nose and the moustache, Kensing, and then how he would explain to her, like, you don't want to go down that path, like, killing, even though she had every reason to, wanting to kill her dad, and because she found out that he was the one who killed her mum. Her whole life she didn't know who killed her mum, and then as he was trying to kill her, he told her, like, this is, you're gonna die like how your mum did, or something along those lines, and how Batman pulled her back, and she was wrestling him trying to kill her dad, and he was like practically saying, like, it's not worth it. Like, you'll never ever be able to go back if you walk across that line. So I thought that what would you call it, moral dance that they shared was pretty cool. And I don't know, perfect word that you said there, Dean, was slick. they were both crazy chemistry on screen and off screen too, on a separate note. But I thought they were cool. My favorite, I don't know about you fellas, but man, I think Sonny's favorite too was Colin Farrell's Penguin, or Oz. He was super charismatic.
Yep. That was awesome. That makeup, all of that work. I was second guessing, like, I don't think that is him. Is that him?
Yeah, you can't see it, eh?
Yeah. No, I think he did really well. He did really well. He wasn't overacting as well.
Nah.
Yeah, it was a.
And he was real believable. I think that's
Yeah.
And there was the what was it? One thing that I liked about his character was what would you call it? Oh, that bit when they handcuffed him and they're asking him, like, are you the rat? All of that, and he was like, nah. He was saying, like, that's the worst, is the rat. And then how at the end when Falcone got cuffed up and he got taken outside. And then when Penguin found out, he came out and it was like, "You rat," like saying like, pretty much you're a piece of shit. You're dead to me. And it's just like, I'll spray paint you with this gun. Like that. I was just like, look, this fella was his right hand man. That was his boss, and his code. He lives and dies by his code, which is not being a rat, or one of the things in their code. And as soon as his boss was found out to be the rat, he was immediately just went, "Nah, you're dead to me." I was like, oh, that's some good consistency for his character.
Yep. Despicable way. That's the most disgusting thing. We gotta be crims.
we're gonna be crims. We're gonna be crims all the way.
Can't be a good crim. I really liked it when he does the poor Spanish. He's like, what? That doesn't even mean that. It means this. Like, that's really poor Spanish. Or whatever he said. Yeah.
It's not El Rata. It's
La.
It's La.
La. Yeah. Yeah.
You idiots. You're funny. And there was another bit too when we watched it again that I didn't notice the first time when he was cuffed up and how Batman and Gordon, they left him. And it was like, hey, you got to uncuff me. And then he was with his cuffs on. He was waddling. And I was just like, wow, how did I miss that?
I noticed that in the first one. I was like, yep, thank you. I respect that.
Yep, I see it.
Because the Penguin around, I don't know what movie he was in. Those old films, around the
Danny DeVito.
Yeah, he was real dumb. Like he was dumb in that, but that El Rata or La Rata, that showed that he was still quite onto it.
Intelligently.
Yeah, he could at least understand that language, and he's got that sorted. So it wasn't a dumb penguin like that we've seen before.
Yeah. And that bit when so I don't know exactly what it was about him playing Penguin that I liked, but every time he was on screen, I was just like, man, give me more of this. And I'm super stoked that they're making a spin-off show with just him. And I was like, yeah, he's literally my favorite character out of this whole movie. Do it. What did you fellas think of? We'll start with you, Dean. What did you think of the Riddler and this interpretation of him from Paul Dano?
I thought he was scary. A true psychopath. I was really, really scared of him. Well thought out plan, very clever man, and acting like had nothing to lose, and that's someone who's very dangerous, eh?
Yes.
Yeah, and I thought he was great, especially when they had him in Arkham, and he keeps saying Bruce Wayne.
Oh, that was creepy.
That was scary, man. That was scary.
I was like, well, what?
Yeah.
and like, you just imagine if you were in that situation and you were Bruce Wayne, you'd have been like, shit, he found me out. I definitely wouldn't have done what that version did and just stood there and just kept listening. And find out, whoa, he doesn't even know it's me. Or maybe he's clever because he did a lot of talking about being your real self with the mask on. So maybe he knew who he was, or this is some theories anyway that I've heard. He knows that it's him, but he knows that he enjoys being the Batman better. And maybe he thinks he could manipulate him and, sort of work together. Legit. There was what was it? I saw this other podcast and it was with these 3 movie dudes. I can't remember their names. They usually do interviews with like film people on their press runs and stuff. But they had Matt Reeves on, and they were what I love about Matt Reeves is he's a fan, like he's like us. He loves when filmmakers like really, really care about the work that they create, and especially with something like the Batman. Like, if you're gonna make a Batman movie, you'll be shitting your pants all the way up until you hear good reviews, Because, and especially the fact that we live in a world that we have the Dark Knight trilogy, which is everybody holds in high regard. So, and you're always just going to be compared. It's just going to be, oh, is he going to be as good as Christian Bale? Is it going to be good as Dark Knight? All of this, all of that pressure, and then that's showing through, and then not doing any of the usual things that he didn't play it safe. And I remember saying at the Sunny when we came out of it, we went and got some pizza, I think. We were talking about it, and I was like, I like that they just went for it. They decided on their vision and their approach for this movie, and they just went, yeah, let's do it. Let's fully lean in. And because I don't think it's a film for casual film goers, eh?
It's too long for a casual film goer.
And too slow.
Yeah, I really like. I'm starting to really love the slower pace of the slower paced stuff. It reminds me of books, like turning a page at a pace that you can take it in, at that slower pace. Series, you get like a longer time to breathe with it because it's so, it has episodes and stuff. So it's takes its time building up all the characters, setting all the scenes and all that kind of stuff. So this film did that really, really well, and it's just, I could have sat for longer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same. I probably my only what was it, negative thing about it was that they had the Joker in it at the end.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think it was necessary to have him in there. Because I like movies, which this movie was, that are standalone. Like, that's probably the only thing that I sort of like, but mostly don't like about franchise movies, especially if they're part of like a series, is when you watch a movie and then they have like cliffhanger stuff at the end, or that feels like something's tacked on at the end just to suggest the next movie, as opposed to just making a movie that just feels like one finished movie. Like, I felt like I had a whole meal of a movie instead of I just had this part and then I'm missing a little part which is going to come 2 years away, in the next movie. So that'll be probably my only gripe would be that. Did you fellas have any gripes?
Just jumping on what you said, because they could have easily just finished the movie when he caught Falcone, when he figured that out, and then left the part where he went to go and get the Riddler as another movie. So I was really happy that they didn't do that. So I was just telling T, I was like, when they did get Falcone, I was like, oh shit, that's right, they got to get the Riddler next. I thought, because that's usually where they finish a movie. I'm just so used to it now. So it was really cool that he made a cohesive piece.
Yeah. We tied up the loose ends, and it was what was it? There was another. Was there another one? Nah, I think that was it. I think that was my gripe, was just that. And I love films that treat the audience as an intelligent audience.
Yes.
Like, they don't over explain everything to you. They can suggest things to you and they can leave it. They can let you come to their conclusion yourself. And that's what this movie was. It felt like a in between of like a blockbuster and like a blockbuster. And when I think about a blockbuster, I think about a movie that's for everybody, that's easy to digest, easy to understand for the general audience. So I think there's a mix between that and then like a slow burn thriller, because it's like, as a kid I just like blockbusters, but as an adult I like when directors and filmmakers can combine They're both like Denis Villeneuve. He's another perfect filmmaker who can do that. David Fincher, they can do that. Treat you as intelligent so you can figure stuff out, or they can leave metaphors in there. Leave subtlety in there. Like here's another one, like another intelligent thing. I don't know if it was purposeful or not in this movie, but that kind of mirrors reality. Was the Riddler being a sociopath, using social media and then amassing a following of nutters as well. And how the power of the internet, can project your voice, and depending on what your voice is, you attract a certain crowd, and you think about those people who went out to get their guns and their bullets and all that, and they're dressed up as the Riddler, and they went to their place during a flood to kill, and you're just like, "Fuck, look at that," and then there's those parallels between him and like the modern mass shooter who, there's a few of them over the years who use social media. The last thing was using social media, so that parallel was, scary.
Kind of like the insurrection, January 6th in
yeah,
America.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that. It's
I was
and
thinking,
sorry, you carry on.
when I was watching the movie and it said like you only have 500 followers, I thought that's not that much, but when you think about it, that's an army, eh?
Yeah, man, that's hate. Especially if they all believe as deeply as he does about his way of doing what he's doing. That's heaps of people. And I think that's the you got to watch a movie to be entertained, to think, or one of the main reasons is to escape from reality. And one of the ways that we relate to films is through ideas or people that you can see in your real life. Protagonists, you enjoy them so much because they represent the best part of what you think you have inside yourself. And then you see baddies and villains in that, and they represent the darkest, scariest parts of society that we actually live in. So when there's those parallels that seem a bit close to home, it's like, ooh, far out there. This is the power of film and storytelling, and depending on where you are and what your experience has been living your life, that'll determine how you take away, or how you interpret that movie.
I think it had a bit of that as well with the Batman, and how how he was impacting and influencing others too. So rethinking all of that. Yeah, I like how it plays on that sort of stuff, bringing light to the issues that we have in our real life.
Yeah,
that was good.
that's what I think.
I even though I love this film and it's my number one Batman film, I didn't like a few things about
it. What were the things you didn't like?
Yeah, I didn't like the last bit, the Joker. I think if they wanted to put that in, they should have done it like way at the end, far away, so we could just sit on this film and like take it in and just appreciate it for the whole piece that it is.
Yeah.
And not have to think, oh, okay, I'm going to get something else in that. And so that was one thing. Another thing is I so didn't like the story with Selena's dad. Like, why did it have to be that? It was such a it sounded like a broken story that I didn't want. Why did we have to get it now? I thought it was too soon. Why do you have to shatter our first? Oh, is it our? No, it's not our first. But why did you have to shatter our black Catwoman? Like, far man, that sucks. I don't like that. I don't want it to be tied into that. Not right now. Give it to us later then if you really want to do that to us.
Yeah.
Because she's so cool and casual and for that kind of Catwoman that we get. It sucked that the story was that, and I don't want it. I don't
Yeah.
want it. Another thing, I think this was my final thing I didn't like, is the likeness of the theme song to Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Yeah. I was
But
like,
I did too.
yeah. For me it was this is exactly what I thought. As soon as I heard it, I was like, oh no, his dad's a criminal. It
Oh,
made me think
because it sounded
straight.
like the Empire marching.
Yes, and I was like, oh, what are they telling us? Are they going to tell us that? This is telling us that his dad is going to be a baddie.
I was right.
Wow.
And then, so then when it was going to be like he was a baddie, then I was like, no. I didn't want to guess that. I was wrong. Don't do
I wanted to be proven wrong.
It means nothing. It means nothing. It's just music.
Wow, that's funny. That's
Yeah,
exactly what you said. Especially that horn version, eh? It was the horn version in particular when they
Yeah.
were doing the car chase and he was walking up to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's those are the things I didn't like. Yeah. But there was the things I did love outweighs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By
loads
far.
of
What about you, Dean? Any things you didn't love?
Just jumping on what Tia says. Just it kind of took you out the film a bit, eh? When you hear that and you just automatically think of Star Wars.
Mm.
You know.
It's because it's too huge, eh? Star Wars to not
Yeah.
compare it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that will stink. But
All right.
but-
You can-
I think my favorite part, and this is a little bit of a stink part too, a lot of people might say, is I really loved the long bike ride.
Yeah, same. At the Uber Park.
Loved it. Yeah, and then
Yeah, same.
it was slow and like ages and like wondering what is this? What's gonna happen? What is it? And then just nothing. It just
And then they
went
realize it's-
away. I think that's so cool. It feels like we're just looking out a window and then you just go, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too.
Yeah.
And like how they shot it because it was like long lens. So it's like you were far away spying on their bikes weaving together, watching from a distance. And then I think this is me being an artist. But there's like metaphorical of that journey that they just had in that whole movie. There was that dancing, they're kind of breaking and catching up
And
to
then
each
they
other.
were going and like giving the other the lead and then and then I'll take the lead and I know I love those parts. I was like, oh look at this is their growth of their relationship. This is what they're gonna be like.
It was like the last recap, and then they get to the end, and then what they ultimately, or how they ultimately believe they should lead their lives based on who they are is different, and then that's that's when they separate.
Yes.
But it's just, and then the because there's that shot with him looking back, and that's kind of like the take care,
Yeah.
the take care look, then you end, the final shot is on him, like looking ahead. It's just like, yep, I'm gonna go be a symbol of hope.
Yeah.
What about you? You already brought up what I was just gonna ask, because we were at an hour, so we're at the wrap up point. But it was what was your most memorable part? And you already said yours. What was yours, Dean?
Favorite part. Ah, where's that one? I'll say I really enjoyed the car chase scene.
Oh,
It was really
yeah,
good.
man.
Especially right at the end of that scene where the penguin thought he had him. You know,
Yeah, I
real
got you.
happy. Yeah, I got you. And then when the car flipped into Storms, slowly walking over, put
Yo,
the fear in him. After that,
scary.
that was a
Yeah,
sick shot.
yeah, man.
That was a sick
It
shot.
was. So was that yours? The car chase?
Yeah. Yeah, that
Oh,
was good.
what would mine be? My favorite part. I think mine was the beginning of that car chase when they're having that when they're shooting up and then
Yeah.
all you hear is just that high ass pitch and it's just and then Penguin is standing there and he's looking down the back of that warehouse and then you just hear his bloody Batmobile screaming and then you see the engine getting red and then you see the rocket on the like start lighting up and then there's that shot from like a 3/4 angle from the back and you can just see the flame shooting out of the back and it's like roaring and you're just like and then the score at the same time you're like, oh, if I were to be a baddie and I saw that I'd be like, frack, I'm dead. I would be like, I'm sorry, yeah, I did it. I thought that was like one of the best bloody vehicle intros in the film. Like everything, the rain smashing up against it, and then how when he had that car chase with him, there were those times when you couldn't see him, but you could just hear the engine roaring, and that fear in Penguin's eye when it was just like, and he's like, get out of the way, get out of the way. It's like he was running away from like a bloody giant rhino or something. It was just like, oh, far, yeah. And because I love muscle cars as well. I think
all of his cars. Sorry, I dropped out, but I'm back and I'm just catching on to what you're saying. All of his cars, in his garage and that he's got high tech. He's so rich. He's got all these things, but that was something new.
yeah, man.
He did what we know that he does and built it. Works on it and tweaks it, and it's a little bit. Well, it isn't the flashy stuff that we're used to seeing, or like some kind of futuristic one-off for Bruce Wayne only kind of Wayne Enterprise inventory of stuff. Yeah, but that was really cool, and I liked it. And that's another thing that makes this film more real. Not that we got muscle cars like that scream like that, but I guess a little bit closer to something more acceptable. Eh?
What was another cool thing about this Batmobile was it's easy to get in and out. You just open the door and jump in. You didn't have to jump over the top and then
Jump over the bloody thing.
Doing a bit of a Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, you didn't have to Dukes of Hazzard your way into the car. Just the small things, even just I think I already spoke about, but even just a black eye makeup. Just like, yes, man. That even looks part of his character too. Emo Bruce Wayne.
Yes. Very emo. Big contrast to the Playboy and Millionaire that they usually show in the other ones.
Yeah. And look, he didn't even care about Bruce Wayne. He was just like, no, I don't care about that. This is more important. Didn't care about Wayne.
And he's in his journal and stuff, he's trying to be more like bat-like, and he's really sinking into developing or being better at that, being better at being a Batman. Nocturnal stuff he talks about, and then when he comes in like up top to have breakfast and he's like just eating the blueberries.
Wearing shades.
Yeah. And just eating the blueberries like a bat. He's really trying to get
Yeah.
into the Bat. He's trying to make Bruce the Bat.
Yeah. Bruce is the mask that he puts on.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I thought that was real interesting. So as we wrap up, I think this might be hard, but just to finish off, what would you fellas rate this movie out of 10? Dean.
I'll probably give it a 9.5.
Ooh, nice.
Yep, pretty up there. Yeah, just the only thing they probably took me out was just that Star Wars sound. Made me feel like I was cheering for the troopers or whatever they're called from Star
For the
Wars.
Empire.
But no, Robert Pattinson did a great job as being Batman. So all actors across the table were great.
Mm,
I can't fault to any one of them. Probably would have been nice to see more Andy Serkis, but hopefully there might be in the future. But there was always stuff to the core of characters already, so they had to obviously cut loose some people. But 9.5 for me.
9.5, nice. And you, Tia? Oh no, she's frozen again. I'll do my one while she
We'll have to get back to
while she
Tracy
sorts out
then.
her camera. I would give it a 9. I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The only things that stop it from being a 10 is those things that I talked about, like having the Joker at the end. I don't think they needed to have that part in there. And obviously we don't know what it was like, in the production process. Like maybe the Warner Bros. Said, "Oh, we want you to have a Joker scene, or we want you to have a scene in there at the end that teases another movie." So yeah, to whatever extent that is, I'm not too sure, but be that. And I think that was it, because I think one thing that people do badly and do wrong is they don't judge a movie based on what kind of movie it is. They go in judging an apple as an orange. And it's never going to be as good. Like, don't judge this movie based off another Batman movie. Like, it's another Batman movie, but it's not the same kind of Batman movie, so you can't compare it. Like, you could, but I consider this movie because that's what it was. It was a film noir. That was what Matt Reeves said. Like, judging it off a crime thriller, detective movie, noir, give it a 9 out of 10. You're back. You're back.
Oh man, I don't know what's happening, but it's happening to Jar's phone and the PlayStation too, so it must just be our network. Anyway, sorry for cutting out, being so unprofessional on your stream. But yeah, like I think I'm gonna give it. How many things that I didn't like? The song, the
Selena
story.
Kyle's dad storyline.
And the
Thing.
Joker being in there. They could have moved it. Okay, so I'll give it a 9.7.
Even with that, so that's 3 points.
Sure.
3 that you took off because of those 3 things.
Yeah, I really loved it. That's it for me, and he's also my favorite Batman.
Yeah, he's my favorite Batman too.
I love that he's not so bulked up. He's just like, he's not muscly as, and it's just so cool to see one that suits the more of the nerdy Batman, or the nerdy Bruce Wayne,
Intelligent.
Oh, actually, that's a stereotype. Oh, sorry. Anyway, I just love that body suited for this story. It just, yes. Thank you, Matt Reeves.
Thank you,
done.
Matt Reeves. Yeah. Cool. Thank you, fellas. Anybody who tuned in live, thank you. Anybody who's watching this replay, thank you. Hope you fellas got a little bit of our nerdiness, I think you did, out of this conversation that we had. This is the first of many movie chats that we'll have, by the way. And thank you, Dean. Thank you, Tia, for making time for our Graph Grams whānau this evening. We'll let you fellas know when we have another one if you fellas are keen. But yeah, you fellas take care. Go watch the Batman. Pretty much.
Go watch the
Yes.
Batman.
Go watch the Batman.
Joyce.